Celeste's, and the other Yarni one.
Yes,
So the ones that are on the now 1 to 4.
Yes, in my view, my legal view is that those motions are out of order, simply for the reason that, as the staff have said, they're just not achievable, and they can't be achieved in the financial year.
So I'm happy to rule that one out of order. It's not capable of being implemented. So the next one.
So in regards to the other, so we've got that one there, that the Celeste ones. So these are in regards to individual projects. Again, you have heard from staff of the projects and what can be delivered. If you have got individual items like Celeste has recommended, they have to go through the annual plan process. So what we're actually asking today is a commitment from the council or a decision from the council about whether they are proceeding with us to accept the funding from the government, and we have provided to you what we need to take out or defer to actually sign a funding agreement on Friday that allows us to deliver that. Any changes without substitutions on an individual basis makes it the inability for the council to actually sign either the funding agreement or go into our annual plan process next week. So if there's individual things that you need to, they are absolutely perfect things, perfectly acceptable next week in the annual plan to put forward as amendment in your annual plan for projects getting changed. So we are saying today they can't be discussed today because there's no alternatives, but
so again, we're ruling that one out.
The 3 of them out. Okay, but you do have the annual plan process next week to actually raise those individual projects, noting that what we're doing, because what will happen here today is, depending on if it gets through or not, will determine the capital program that will go into the annual plan for discussion next week.
Yeah, which will basically go live tomorrow. Yeah, tonight, tomorrow. Okay, and so that's all 3. So we've ruled all 3 of those amendments out. I think Yanni has a question.
Yeah, I just wondered, because it does seem to me a bit of a conundrum that the annual plan stuff we won't know until the 1st of July. So we're effectively signing up to an agreement that we don't have certainty on until we've set our draft annual plan.
Well,
so
no,
just in regards to
Yanni,
the
I think,
funding agreement.
Yanni, just if you stop for a second, I think what Leah was saying, which, well, it made sense to me, was actually the team at the moment are not capable of signing a funding agreement if we're to add more to it, because it's not capable of being implemented. So what we can do, as a council, we agreed, you'll recall, when we began the annual plan process, was that we set a limit. We've exceeded that because there's a lot of free government money coming into this. We'll have to substitute other items. So the overall approach won't change because we can deliver it if we keep it at that cap.
So in addition to that, Yanni, goes on to my next point in regards to the recommendations that are up. Recommendations 2, 3, 4 and 7 have to be done on block, because we can't do them individually, because you can't agree to accept all 11 SURF projects and not agree to defer 24 projects, because we can't sign a funding agreement unless you agree to defer some. Staff have given you the advice of what those projects should be, and if there's specific things that have been asked, then you can go through that next week to see is there other ways to bring those on. But you cannot say no to deferring 24 projects and ask us still to sign up for the rest of it, because staff have said we can't deliver it, and we can't sign a funding agreement with the government if we don't believe we can deliver.
But we won't know that. The point I was trying to understand is, given that we're so close to the annual plan, was there any discussions with Waka Kotahi about the time frame for signing the funding agreement? Because it would seem inherently better to actually do all this as part of the draft annual plan, so you had that certainty, rather than doing it this week.
But that would,
because doing that after annual plan, a number of people might have amendments.
Unless I've missed something, that would require us to start that work on the 1st of July, and the requirements of the fund are it's got to be completed by the 30th of June. So what we've wanted to do, because it's in excess of the capital budget we already agreed, was to give the council staff the best opportunity to get on and deliver the work. So I'm not sure holding it up would actually achieve any further outcome for the city. So have you got a different question?
Yeah, so in terms of the only way you'll accept any amendments to 7 is for us to do substitutions now. Is that what you're saying?
No, what we are saying is, if you want to do something different in 7, right, in regards to those projects, if there's specific things that you want in there, then that is something you're going to have to bring up as part of the annual plan, which is the draft annual plan next week. You'll need to seek advice from staff to see if there's any other things that you can substitute, and we'll give you advice in regards to that. No different to any other part of the process that we have in the annual plan is we've said this is what we can deliver. If you want to do something different, a project, you have to provide some substitutions.
It's not straight dollars.
Yeah.
It's not dollars. You need to, and that's the advice the staff will give you. So it's the 24 projects. Okay.
Great.
So you
Yep,
need to
I
do
think
that.
it's clear. Okay, anything else from anybody? Right, so we have some resolutions moved by Sarah and seconded by Pauline on the table. The amendments have been ruled out of order, so I'm happy to open it up for debate. Sarah, do you want to start? Yep.
So climate change is no longer an abstract thought, something that happens in another country or sometime in the future. As we've seen over the last couple of weeks, the impacts of climate change are hitting New Zealand now, and they're hitting New Zealand really hard. And they are really, really expensive. So we're looking at billions and billions of dollars of damage from first the atmospheric river and then the cyclone. And we've seen this around the country over the last few years. Northland's been hit several times. We've looked at Ashburton and other areas as well. We find ourselves in an odd situation where we have a huge range of really, really good climate-related projects that we can't physically deliver all in the next year. The government funding's really, really welcome, and we're a victim of our own success in many ways. So time and time again, we have had enough planning done as a council, and all credit to our staff for that, that when government has been able to offer various funding opportunities such as Shovel Ready and such as this, we have been able to capitalise on that and do additional work for our communities and for our environment. I'd like to acknowledge the frustration of colleagues over this. This is really not easy. Trying to pick and choose projects across the city when we are all really invested in our communities, and our communities have been waiting for some of these projects for a really long time, is really not easy. And there is a fear that projects that are deferred for a year may be deferred further or not delivered on time. So I think that as a council, as we go forward, we say, we agree, it's a year and it's a year only. And as we go into the long-term plan, we make sure that we keep those ones close, that we keep an eye on them, and that we make sure that they are sitting there ready to deliver. The major cycle routes and public transport improvements are a proven way to reduce emissions. And so it's really important that those crucial ones are kept on track, especially ones that are ready to go. However, we're pushing out the planning on the Ovenor-Takaro river route, the Ovenor-Takaro major cycle route, one that goes into the eastern suburbs, an area where they're really lacking in cycling infrastructure that's council provided. And I'd like to make sure through the long-term plan process that we do everything we can to make sure that the final delivery date on that one is not delayed. And that may mean us making sure that there's additional planning funding in the second year, or in the first year of the LTP, so the year after the deferred year, to make sure that we do that. And once again, there's likely to be more climate-related funding, and we know that having the planning work done for the Ovenor-Takaro route will enable us to get government funding for that, as well as others. The decision today is whether we add $25 million worth of climate-related projects to our capital program for the draft annual plan. I would urge councillors today to add those projects to our annual plan and do those in the next year. A vote today against number 7 basically says that you don't want the extra money to do climate-related projects, and that's the reality of the situation that we're in. It's a tough problem, it's frustrating, and I think that the council as an organisation needs to work out how we can scale up, because the scale of both the mitigation and adaptation work that we are going to need to do over the next decade is enormous. And we need to work out how to resource that, how to staff it, how to get everything done so that we can do that over time. Thank you.
Yanni.
Thank you. I think it's wonderful that the government has actually agreed to give us money. It enables us to do more. Given the current climate with the cyclone response and recovery, I'm deeply concerned that if we don't accept the full quantum of money from the government today that we applied for, that we're going to be unable to afford to do those things in the future. We were advised that the Healthy Streets Linwood project was a flagship project that Waka Kotahi strongly supported. We have our own evidence that we've done in terms of research to show that this area had the greatest amount of need. To quote from our own application, Linwood was selected as the subject of our proposal for several reasons. It has excellent potential for expansion of walking and cycling connections to the central city. It's a key activity centre. It's got public facilities and existing and planned major cycle routes. There are schools located around it, creating a demand for safe and healthy school travel with the potential for cluster planning to deliver benefits to multiple schools at once. The residents of Linwood are also typically impacted by transport poverty and access equity issues, and therefore interventions in these communities are likely to deliver more meaningful benefits for a wider population. So there's been plenty of work already done on scoping the improvements, and the Eastgate area is part of the CRAF engagement and decision making. We've also heard around our climate change strategy that the idea of a just transition is something that is equally important. And I would urge you to not take the Healthy Streets Linwood out. The climate is failing. We can't afford to let it fail, so we need to act, and we need to act now. We should not be deferring anything. If any city should know how to get things done, it should be us, particularly on the day of the earthquake memorial. Set up a SCIRT 2.0 with alliance with contractors and get things done. The people have spoken to us today. They don't want our climate change projects deferred. They want us to get on and show urgency in an emergency. So I will ask that you put these resolutions separately, and I urge you strongly to do all the projects that we currently have on budget and all of the SURF funds that we've got government funding for. Let's do this.
Thanks, Yanni. And just to be clear, we'll put some separately, but 2, 3, 4, and 7 will be together. Jake, you're up.
Cool. Hey, look, really happy to support this today. I think we've gotten to a really good place. We're balancing both the opportunity to access government funding while not delaying some really important projects. And delivery is really important. It's important to be realistic about what we can deliver. Otherwise, we'd be in the position of essentially lying to central government at a time when we're hoping to have conversations with them around rapid mass public transport. We've also heard that there's actually a financial risk in biting off more than we can chew, and we could actually be left carrying the can and the cost for some of these projects. So again, I say we've gotten to a really good place overall, and I think the people of Linwood should be feeling very, very happy today, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Look, I have a project that's being delayed, at least on paper. The truth is the Ferry Road upgrade may or may not have actually happened in this time frame anyway, but to turn down money for work this important would just be wrong.
Thank you, Jake. Victoria.
Thank you, Sam. This really is a bit of a poison chalice, I think, and council officers have told us repeatedly that we've got serious deliverability issues. We got told that on our first day, and we've heard it many, many times, and we're under extreme financial pressure. The reality is that we just can't do everything all at once, and we have to be pragmatic about it. To me, it's a nonsense to turn down external funds. Thank you for that reminder, Jake, about what's ahead of us. I recognise there may be some valid exceptions to this, but we're all in a really difficult position here. We as elected members gave our council staff a really clear direction to prioritise SURF-funded projects, and accelerating emissions reduction that really is a priority for all of us. And there are many ways to achieve a reduction in emissions, and of course many ways to measure it, but we won't go down that path now. It'll come as no surprise to anybody here that I was pleased to see the controversial Wheels to Wing cycleway in the original deferment list. And likewise, it'll be obvious that some elected members, staff and some enthusiastic members of the public were not quite so pleased to see that deferred
Now, on that note, I'd like to thank the many members of the public who took time out to come and address us today. Some of you are still here. Your passion for the Harewood Road Cycleway is evident, but in all honesty, I'm not sure that it's the best use of our time today to have to sit down and to go through that same old cycling rhetoric. It really is a distraction to the bigger issues that we are facing as a council that we've got to grapple with. So Wheels to Wings is now off the deferment list because we're being told that the risks associated with deferment for this particular project are too great. Please remember that this is the same staff who sat in this room last week and told us that they didn't count the 2 public petitions signed by almost 2,000 people voicing opposition to the cycleway, and the same staff who admitted that they got the engagement, parts of the engagement wrong with this community who are impacted. And yet here we are today, continuing to promote the project by staff knowing full well that it's not supported by the local community. So to my mind, deferring the project would have given us an opportunity to pause, to reflect, and to work with our community to try and pursue better alignment. That it would send a really strong message to our community that we are listening to you, we want to work with you and not fight against you. So I'm really mindful of the members of the community who are supportive of the cycleway continuing with delay, but I also sit at this table here today with 64.5% of the vote of the public in Papanui. Now that is a really strong mandate from my community, and I cannot ignore that. Similarly, I'm mindful of the need for pragmatism, and that's why I'm not here proposing an amendment to put Harewood Road Cycleway back on the deferment list. But please know that that conversation doesn't end here. I will continue to advocate and serve my community as best I can by the other means in the annual plan process. Can I just tell you where I'm going to vote? I struggle in good conscience to support the revised program substitution as proposed, but I take your advice that 2, 3, 4 and 7 cannot be untethered, but I request that it be recorded that I wanted the Wheels to Wing cycleway on the deferment list. Is that possible? Thank you.
We can note that in the minutes. Thank you, Victoria. Anyone else? Mel, and then Celeste.
Taking staff is not a great way to build collegiality in this place. But I would like to congratulate the team on being so successful in their bids for the SURF projects. I think it demonstrates the quality of our transport staff and our contractors and the respect that government has for the transport projects that are designed and constructed in Christchurch. The effect, though, of this one-year funding is we're deferring projects for a year, and that will have ongoing effects with the potential consequence of deferral of projects into outer years. And that doesn't help with our credibility with the public, and it certainly doesn't assist our transport team to get work done when the work program is constantly being reshuffled. I hope that Waka Kotahi understand that long-term funding that can be used over a longer term, maybe 3 years, is much smarter for efficient use of taxpayer dollars and transport resources across Christchurch and all of New Zealand. I'm really pleased that those projects that were originally labelled red, that staff are now recommending we should continue with. One of the reasons is that, as a council, we are always aiming to phase construction works in such a way to minimise disruption and avoid additional and unnecessary cost. Some of the projects that are now recommended to continue will allow council to be efficient and do the best by our ratepayers. Other projects have incredibly strong public support. We've clearly seen today that the Wings to Wheels is really wanted by people who want to cycle safely in the northeast part of the city. North area. Making cycling safe will also make it cool, because it's not cool to have near misses while cycling or, God forbid, be hit by a car, and we've seen that on videos shown to this council. We heard today we need safe systems because mistakes happen. Now let's remember the Wings to Wheels doesn't just connect to the airport, connects to the north of the city, places such as the Groin, so families can bike in the weekend to have a great day together safely and healthily. And of course, part of the project includes the upgrade of the Harewood-Breens intersection, which is crying out for the work to be done on it alongside the rest of the Wings to Wheels cycleway. So I will support the recommendation today.
It's Wheels to Wings, Mel.
I've already promised to drive Mel out there in my diesel car and show around. Celeste, you're up next.
Yeah, I just want to also acknowledge the work the staff have put into this. I know it's hugely challenging to have to put together a package of work that then means that other projects get deferred. It's been really difficult because on the one hand, we're told, we're looking at prioritising transport projects which are around reducing emissions and promoting climate action. Yet at the same time, we've wrestled with this idea that we're going to be deferring projects such as cycleways that also deliver on those objectives. I just want to flag it here today that one of the difficulties of making this decision is the list of projects that have been marked for deferral under SURF. They don't actually detail the climate benefits in relation to those projects that are being deferred. So while something may be listed as being easy to defer, it doesn't mean it's not a high priority. So I just want to highlight my ongoing support for the Avanotakaru MCR, which we've heard from the community is long overdue and people are looking forward to being delivered. But I am pleased that other projects are progressing. We know that the delivery of a safe, connected cycling infrastructure is the most cost-effective way of lowering emissions and improving public health and well-being. We also know that if we want to be serious about climate action, we need to target inequity when planning, implementing, and evaluating active transportation networks. And this means looking at who is the most vulnerable within our communities. We know the impact of having poor travel choices impacts the most vulnerable the first, and that the impacts of climate change will fall on vulnerable communities. So I would be looking forward to seeing how we can speed up the completion of the remainder of our cycle networks as part of the draft annual plan process, and making sure that we deliver through on the promises made to communities that currently don't have access to a safe council infrastructure within this process. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Celeste. Is there... Oh, James? Yep.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to repeat all the stuff that's been said, but apart from one aspect, which I think is just the key one, and that's that I'm not going to be throwing money away. So I will support resolutions that are in front of us, 1 through 7. Not supporting resolution 7 means you use ratepayer money ahead of money from the government. That's really the essence of it. Now, that notwithstanding, like Councillor Henstock, I would like it noted that I support the deferral of Wheels to Wings. This, however, isn't included in Attachment B. But also, in addition to that, I'd like it noted my opposition to deferral of Project 66406, which is the Glendowie Road West, Idris Road Active Transport Safety Improvements. I've sent the wording through to the Secretariat, but if that could just be noted, my opposition to deferral of that project. So I won't be throwing the government money away, and with those 2 exceptions noted in there, I'm comfortable with the resolutions. It's a really pragmatic way forward, not an easy process, but we've got there, and we'll take the money, thanks.
It's wings to wheels, Jamie.
I think wheels to wings has a better ring to it, I think, actually, but wings to wheels, wheels to wings. I'm with Councillor Coker on that. Cool.
So I think that word pragmatic, I was going to use it in my debate too, and I will. That makes 3 of us in a row, but it's the appropriate word to use in thanking staff for being so pragmatic here and for being realistic and taking a little bit less than what we could have got, because we need to be able to stand by our word and deliver what we can. Now, we're all in between a rock and a hard place over this. We all want the things that are being deferred in our wards, and we all, well, I certainly want the Otakaro Avon Cycleway as well. So we have to be pragmatic as well and have a citywide lens when we make these decisions, not just ward focused. So in that regard, I'll be supporting all these resolutions today and look forward to robust ideas and debate through the annual plan to be able to move certain things through if we want to reprioritise them, and that's the place to do that. So I support everything that Sarah Templeton said today in her debate. I think that was really robust as well, and I'm confident that we will get there. We will address all our safety and climate change issues in our transport program as fast as we can for the best outcome for Otatahi Christchurch. Cheers.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? You'll wrap it up. Oh, Aaron? Yep. Yanni, you've already been... Yeah.
Yeah, I will add my list to the list of Jamie and Victoria who wanted would prefer that Wheels to Wings was delayed by a year, and I'll try to explain that in my debate. I'll get ready for the usual groans and potential heckles. Thank you, on cue. So I'm quite happy to support this today for probably a completely different reason than most of you. Mine is for the mental health and physical health benefits of all of these activities. It is undeniable. But the bit I'm more than happy to debate in this chamber is around the environmental benefits of all of these projects. It's 10 years since we put the active transport levy into the annual plan and the long-term plan to bring in the cycleway program that was to be delivered within 5 years, because we saw it as important. Cycling was meant to be fun and cool and should by now have double or triple the numbers it currently does. But what's happened along the way, and the debate has changed and the rhetoric has changed, is done what I believe driven people away from cycling, has created a divide. When people use terms like bloody cyclists, is not cool. They're human beings. They're people riding a bike for whatever choice they want to. And cycling is fun and cool. It is not dangerous in the big scheme of things. Everything we do is dangerous. So I'd rather that we stop trying to sell cycleways by telling everyone how dangerous it is. Get on with delivering them. The over-engineered term comes up too often. Is that the reason? Maybe, maybe not, but so be it. But to think that this will save the planet from cyclones is dreamland. I'll give you a couple of numbers. If we switched our carbon emissions to zero as of tomorrow, and we've spent hundreds of millions of dollars so far in Christchurch and increased our carbon footprint, so that's a great ball dropping right there. But going forward, if we were zero tomorrow, that work is undone in 23 days, because 23 days is how quickly the population of New Zealand is replaced by the world's population growth. If we are ever serious about climate change and saving the environment, what we spend every dollar on needs to have a global impact. And when there's opportunities for us to become the green carbon capital of the world, that is where we should be investing our money, our time, and our effort, so we can have a global impact on saving the globe. Not think that a few people cycling and busing, even thousands, even everyone in this country, it will not save the planet. And so we need to be a lot smarter and lead the world in what we do. But behaviour change will not do it. Tell yourself, say climate emergency as much as you want, it won't save the planet.
Thank you, Aaron. Tyrone.
Before I begin, I'd say to my colleague, Councillor Kewen, that for every person that says bloody cyclists, there's 10 people saying effing Merivale tractors. Oh my God! But anyway, and I do agree with his points on that we need to innovate. I wasn't going to speak, but I may as well. I think I'm speaking in support of the resolution. I think it's good. I think we've gone through a really good process. I think Lynette's done an awesome job and all the staff around her. I think that when we start getting into the weeds, we start doing ourselves a disservice. We start to we actually waste time. We stop getting stuff done, and I think everybody in this room wants to get stuff done. And by getting stuff done, sometimes you've just got to take a step backwards to take 2 steps forward, and I think that's what we're doing. I don't think that anybody is saying that we are deferring climate projects. I think most of us are committed to climate projects, and I think that there's a real sense of I'm really pleased at the way that this group has talked through the issues. I think it's been very, very tricky. It's been quite complex. There's been a few curveballs in there, but I think that we're really working together towards helping Christchurch be a zero carbon city and a really cool and fun place for everyone to live in. And hopefully that sort of thinking will continue as we lobby the government to improve the regulations around cruise ships as they come into New Zealand ports and are deeply not clean at all. Kia ora.
Before we go back to Sarah, is there anybody else that would like to debate this? No, and Yanni, I know you've got a question, but we'll get to that after the debate. Just a couple of things from me. I guess I'm probably slightly frustrated that the two issues have been conflated between the projects we're actually deferring or not deferring and actually the money we're getting from government. So I think we should all start every time when government come to us with a cheque and say thank you very much from Wellington, or to Wellington, for what they're doing. Phil would have liked to have been here, but he's obviously, earthquake memorial stuff has consumed his entire day. But he made the point, and Yanni, I know you'll agree with this, that there's well over $15 million of funding that we're getting out of government that is going into the east of Christchurch right now. This has a deadline on it, so we won't have the same frustrations as we do with CRAF, that actually it'll be delivered by 30 June 2024. And so any time like this, it's actually not about debating the projects within this, it's about how we get to a point where we can fundamentally take Wellington money and deliver it on time. So I think the focus of this shouldn't be about individual projects, but I think people can obviously note the different concerns they have, but at the same time say, how do we enable the council staff as early on in this to take the money and run? And all we have done today for the people of Christchurch is save money or borrowed money and followed in future years. And that can only be a good thing. So if we can enable Lynette and her team to get on and do this, all they are doing is bringing forward projects with money we don't have to pay for or borrow. So, I'd be slightly frustrated if people wouldn't support this because, again, this is not a climate change issue. This is a budgetary issue. We've been given some money. The staff have worked really hard to work out how we deliver it, and that's what we should be encouraging them to do. So I think it would be a very dark day, particularly if there are any councillors from Linwood or East that weren't overly keen to support it, given this is money into Christchurch we would have had to otherwise borrow. It's bringing forward projects in communities that we often hear are neglected. And as Phil said, I think we should just get on and do it, which we're exactly doing. So, look, I think we shouldn't conflate the issues. This is budgetary, not climate change related. Everyone around this table wants to lower emissions across the city. I don't think there'd be anyone here that would say otherwise. And this is a step to do it without having to borrow money on behalf of the people of Christchurch. So I do hope everyone supports it. I think actually it's a step in the right direction. And again, the real challenge is going to be enabling the council staff to actually deliver this so that we can earn the respect of Wellington. And I know, Phil has done this time and time again. The first couple of days of being elected mayor, he jumps on a plane, takes Dawn with him, and they go to Wellington to rebuild that credibility. And I think actually what we need to do is prove to them we can deliver it so that they come back to us with more open cheques to pay for stuff that we don't have to borrow on behalf of the people of Christchurch. So I would really hope that people support this. It's a pragmatic solution. It's not about delaying cycleways of the like. It's about getting on and doing things, and the East is going to particularly benefit from it.
Hey, Sam, can I just note the two projects that I don't support defer of? Just same as Victoria. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Can I just start by thanking my colleagues? It has been frustrating, and as many of you have mentioned, like there's individual frustrations with individual projects. And it's great that everyone's been able to take, at the end of the day, a city focus as city councillors, and that's really appreciated. The one thing I think I disagree with from Sam is just actually this is a climate fund, and while it's a budgetary issue, Celeste's point about prioritising is a really valid one. So when we have climate funding to get as much climate work done as possible, we need to be prioritising the ones with the best climate impact. The reality is at this point, the organisation isn't yet set up enough to make those assessments, and that's a work in progress. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to make sure that our LTP, for example, and other projects that we're going to be making decisions on have enough information about climate impacts that we can make those assessments. But Aaron's right, it's not just climate. There's a whole pile of co-benefits. So health is improved, air pollution's improved, all the particulate matter, all of that stuff is improved when we have more sustainable transport options, people walking, biking, and much of this is walking related, not just biking. The focus is on cycleways because they're controversial, but much of this is to do with people walking our streets and being able to get around their neighbourhoods, which is fantastic. I will, however, mention a couple of things. So cycling is fun and cool, except that the environment that we make people cycle in is not. So we need to make that environment better so that those things are fun and cool. And for people who don't want people to be talking badly of cyclists, please look at your own Facebook page and make
right,
sure that people are talking
time's up.
nicely about cyclists on there.
Time's up. Thanks. Okay. So Celeste, you've sent yours through, haven't you? Okay. Now, yeah, we've just got a response to Yanni's question, but I think we have answered it a couple of times. So do you want to just go back through it, Leah?
So just to clarify, 2, 3, 4 and 7 have to be done on block, because if you vote, for instance, which is the question that Yanni's asked, is why can't 3 be put separately? Because if you vote against 3, then actually 7 and 2 are obsolete. They're interdependent of each other, okay? We can't deliver it unless those are all agreed, okay? Is everybody clear on that? Yep. Handing it back to you, Chair.
Understanding orders. But anyway, regardless, so if that's the case, then at least can we have abstention recorded against 7? And 3?
Well, no, you can't.
Well,
You've got
have
to
abstain
accept
against the
all
whole-
of them.
You'd have to abstain against the over 15 million going into your community. Yeah.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. Well, on what grounds? Understanding orders.
Yanni,
a requirement.
Yanni, we have just been through it. The 4 need to be put together, because if everyone abstained and we lost, so there needs to be a decisive vote on 7. If you want to vote against the block, that's fine, but they're not capable of being implemented unless they're put as a block. So yeah, so we're there. So you can abstain on the lot and that money going into your community.
And then can you put the noting provisions like done with others?
Yep.
Yeah, so
Have to do
you may not have heard, but Celeste emailed hers through as well. So if you could email them through, that'd be great. Okay, so we'll put everything except 2, 3, 4, and 7. So do you want to just highlight them or something, David, just so everyone's really clear? Yeah, 1 and 5, 5, 6. We actually may need to put 2, 3, 4, and 7 first, I think. Don't we?
Yeah.
I think we will have to put 5 and 6. Well, I mean, pragmatically, is there anyone that's going to? I didn't hear anyone debate they're going to oppose it anyway. Yeah. Okay. Great. So let's put the whole. So Yanni, the only thing is, are you wanting to abstain on 2, 3, 4, and 7, or are you happy to support them?
No, I'll abstain, but I want it recorded in the notes around the reason for that.
Okay. All right.
And I'll send that through to staff. I also want my vote recorded against 6 as well.
Okay. Well, no. So we'll go back to the way we're doing it. Thanks, Yanni. So if we highlight, yeah. Okay. So let's go 1, 5, and 6. But you want 6 separately, don't you, Yanni? Yeah. Okay. So all in favour of 1. All in favour of 1, 5, and 6. Against, and Yanni wants it against. Yeah, applying for the money that goes into his community. So and then so then yeah,
That's
but
the Metropolitan.
that's the point of it. So
6 was saying it's metropolitan.
okay, so then we'll go to 2, 3, 4, and 7. Yeah, hang on, we'll just highlight them just so not one person on Zoom. Oh, can it not? Okay, all right. Everyone's clear. I just want to be 100% sure so we don't have to come back and do it again. Okay, 2, 3, 4, and 7. All in favour? Aye. Against? And Yanni, you want an abstention?
Yeah, with the noting provision. Thank you.
So I just want to get some. So
Hang on.
yeah, Megan's just going to give some
Hi,
advice.
Yanni, sorry, it's Megan here. Can you please clarify what your noting provision is?
We can't abstain if we can't.
No, we don't. It's not something that we would ordinarily do.
Yeah. Okay, Yanni. So
The wording Yanni provided was.
yeah, just come to it.
The wording that Yanni wanted recorded was he wanted his vote against 3, 6, and 7 recorded. Is that correct, Yanni?
Yeah. No, look, I'm sorry. This is no. We're gonna stop. Yanni, you can either abstain on the lot. You've had your debate. You've made it very, very clear. The motion is carried. So if you want to abstain, that's fine. But I don't want to go around in circles on this. I think what we probably need to do is, if you're going to have these kind of requests in the future, is we book some time in with the legal team to understand the standing orders. So that motion is carried. Thank you very much. Yeah. Right. So now we'll go to item 15 to exclude the public. I'm happy to move that. Pauline's happy to second it. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you.